Welcome everybody. Another edition of our MAT Practitioner Spotlight. Today we have Brian Inselman. He's from just outside of Omaha, Nebraska. And Brian's been in the program for a while. He's finished a specialist program. He was in the second class we had. So around 2002, he completed that, and then went through mastery, not the exact years, but he's early on in everything, in the mastery level and then the RX level. I think he finished the first class about 2015. So years of experience in education. Brian comes with a background as a physical therapist, and he's good to have him here today, and kind of want to get his history coming through the program, what it's done for him, his career, and share his experience of how he's been able to implement MAT into the work that he does on a day-to-day basis. So welcome, Brian.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Greg. Thank you very much. I'm blessed to be here. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's been great having you part of the program for years. So maybe that's where we'll start. Where maybe let people know kind of where you were when you started the program, how you were introduced to MAT, and kind of how you've been able to tie it in and implement it.
Yeah, absolutely. So like how I started was I was a personal trainer for a while. I was up in Portland, Oregon, Vancouver, Washington area, working out there, and then did a course with Tom Purvis down in Oklahoma City doing his RTS program. And you were invited. So I was with him for a while. And then finally he's like, look, I found the missing link of when we need to implement different exercises, and we're going to bring him in here. So then we did that. We did your first with all the isometrics at his course. You did all three of them there. You came down there and was like, yeah, I'm going to start an internship with this program. We'll see how this goes. A bunch of those guys jumped in on it. I couldn't jump in on the very first one, but I jumped in on your second one. Because as I was going through it, I'm like, dude, this can help me a ton. I'm like, I was really into like just working out and getting stronger for myself. And I was like, I could see this benefiting me a ton. I'll get stronger. I'll get better. So it's more of personal reasons. And then I got to figuring out as I'm going through it, I'm like, oh, I could help so many people with this. I was into physical therapy at school at that point in time, or at least prior to that, I was doing school, and I went to work to earn some money. And then, and I had my first couple of children, and I'm like, all right, as I was going into it, I'm like, I was originally looking at physical therapy. Wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I had to earn some money at that time. Then I went back after discussing with my wife. I went to your course first. I went through the specialist course first. And then as I was going through it, we were living in Nebraska at that time. We moved back to Nebraska. That's where my wife is from. And my family, actually, when my dad retired, was out here. So we're in Bellevue, Nebraska right now, and been here ever since. And so we were kind of thinking about what path I need to take, because like as we're going through the MAT course and learning all that stuff and see how I can implement it and help people. In the Midwest, we were kind of thinking the best route I would have, since I was on the physical therapy path originally, was to continue with that and then implement MAT in my physical therapy practice. Just as a cash basis is probably an easier route and an easier sell for me. To implement that in my practice. So, and I was going to go into school. When I went back to school, I knew I was going to open up my own practice right after that. I was like, all right, we're just going to go in. We're going to go all hands on deck. We're just going to throw in and gamble on this, and we'll see how this goes, see how the skills are with it. And it actually has paid off very well. I'm blessed to have been able to be part of your classes, and I've been able to stay with you throughout this whole time. You know, I loved it. I mean, it's the way I use it on a daily basis. It changed my career path, to be honest with you. Without it, I wouldn't have been where I'm at right now. I guarantee that. So I thank you very much for that opportunity when you came down there to Oklahoma and got a chance to meet you. I mean, honestly, that was, I remember going to Vegas one time with you. We were out in Vegas with Tom Purvis class. Yeah. That was a crazy trip, but
yeah, exactly.
It was a real crazy.
It's crazy to think that was, over 20 years ago.
I know, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've had a lot of fun throughout this whole year, so that's for sure. I kept coming back. So I went to school, went to Creighton University, got my PT degree, a doctor of physical therapy degree there. Going through school is different after you've gone through MAT. I guarantee that. I looked at it from different eyes. I don't know how much my professors liked me. I know how you get when I'm in class, I ask questions, right? So think about my professors. I ask all kinds of questions. And so, it can be frustrating. I'm sure on your end, I'm just learning. That's really all it is. I want to understand it in my mind.
Right.
But it was good. I brought different lights to them actually, even during my schooling. I kind of showed them some of the stuff I was learning, like at least as far as the isometric stuff. Just kind of went through it really quick and say, here's what I'm doing or what I've learned. And so why I'm asking these questions. So they kind of, oh, okay, so I get it. And everybody wants to equate it to something different. And I'm like, you can, but it's not really the same thing.
Right.
It's just not. It's its own thing. So, and then always coming back as often there was years we would come back like 4 to 6 times a year to go through stuff and struggle through it with you. I loved it. I mean, at times we're like, all right, yeah, I'll go through the process. We'll just do this. And that's why when you asked me, when Zach was asking me about like, when did you get your mastery? When did you get your RX? I'm like, I don't know when we were actually certified, just because we're like, well, we got this one now. I don't know. We got this. Oh, we're going to go through this whole foot thing again. So it was like, it felt like a long process, which I'm sure you knew that, but I was in it for the ride. I was in it for the long haul. I got a lot out of it every time we went. Really enjoyed it. And, just the community that we built with that. And so, like I said, I've been blessed ever since, and I'm grateful for the chance to even get in that first time. So when I did, and
that's awesome. And you say that because you were there from the beginning, and at the beginning, all there was the specialist level at MAT. And so, like you said, it just kept adding more and all through experience and frustrations, if you want to say. And I mean,
I'll say frustrations.
Exactly.
Yeah, things always were changing, but that's actually that's what's nice about it too, is that you didn't stop and wasn't complacent about just the process of where you were at, and you always wanted to share that. And that's what, and I've been blessed because of that, because of your ability to keep driving forward and my will too. I always want to learn more. And so anytime you had something more coming, I'm like, yep, let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah. And that's the one thing I say, even in the present class, like sometimes people will say, well, how come this keeps changing, or how come this evolves? Or I mean, last time you said this. And it's like, I mean, you've heard me in classes say, and every 6 months I look back and say, man, I've learned so much in the last 6 months. And you think back and, oh, I wish I had that client back, because I think I figured out what I might have been missing. And at one point in time, I thought, well, eventually that's going to be done. I'll know it all. And it's like, now I realize it's exponential. The amount I learn in a 6-month period now compared to early on with just the foundational education or background, it's like, it's exponential how much you learn in a 6-month period. And it's all due to experience. I mean, is your best educator, and you learn everything from the textbook, but when somebody comes in and lays on your table, you have to figure out this complicated, muscular system. It's just been
the thing that I learned from you too is like, just going through it all is watching you do it versus what you say. I mean, we all, right, because you could say words and then I'm like, yeah, but your body did this. So, and how I understand that was totally different. And that's why many times I enjoyed getting the chance for you to test me as well, so that I could feel it. And then I remember that first internship though. I remember we did serratus anterior, and you had me on the table doing it, right? You showed it to me. So we had like, I don't know how many, 30 people in the class, and they're like, all right, Brian, how did that work? So I'm like, all right, of course, me. Yeah, no, you got to dig deeper. You got this. I had 2 bruised armpits for like 4 days or something. So, but I mean, I appreciated that. I mean, it's just that opportunity to kind of just keep growing as a practitioner and just learning the knowledge and how you were willing to share it. And like you were going through it, as you were going through it, your frustrations, you'd always share that with us. And then eventually we got the same frustrations, like, oh, okay. Or at least I would learn from what you did. Like, all right, I know Greg did that and that didn't work, so I'm going to make sure I don't do that too. And so I was grateful for that whole thing.
Yeah, it's funny to think that, I mean, I was a lone wolf at one point. It's like, at one point in time, there was nobody else doing MAT. And it's amazing to see. I mean, we've had a few thousand people come through the program over the years, and amazing to see the growth, the evolution. And then again, like you're saying, the input and feedback from everybody has helped allow this program grow also. And like you said, I could have sat on the laurels, and I mean, MAT is a powerful tool, and could have just stayed right there. And now we had got mastery level, RX level. I mean, it just continued to evolve, and RX is its whole its whole entity in itself that could have never imagined when I started teaching MAT in the first place.
Right.
There'd ever be a level like that.
Well, even like as I've been with my business, I've sent practitioners through to you to get certified all the way through the process. I think I've sent like 5 for sure. Unfortunately, 2 are still with me. One just recently is now RX level, and the other one just finished your specialist and going through your mastery level too. And they're loving it. They're thirsty for that knowledge, which I love that who is here on my staff, and to see them get to that level and to learn and kind of keep moving forward. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And they're seeing that impact. Like I said, with you, I've kind of gone through the whole thing, and they've been doing, PT stuff, and then all of a sudden they see this and like, I don't know how that worked with this, but then they feel it and they see me with the results. I'm like, okay, yep, we need to go. And I said, yeah, we're going to send you through it when you're ready. So, and they're thirsty. They're pretty awesome. And it's it's an amazing thing when you start seeing the people get through it, and then just the confidence that it builds in them. And I think they can start seeing things. And so in physical therapy, right, they all think it's, I'm hurt, then I'll come see you. I'm like, well, I've kind of not necessarily. And I've kind of worked through a lot of people, and I see a lot of different people. So like, we don't have a professional team here in Nebraska. I guess the Cornhuskers are about the biggest professional team here. Right. So, but we get a lot of players that come up from Lincoln actually will come see me. Their team doc actually will send me people at times just because he's seen me work with some of these people. They don't like to send people out, but then they're like, you need to go see him. So, which is pretty cool. And then I get a lot of, active NFL players or even some other professionals that live in the area. When they're in their off season, they stop in and they get treated, and I'll go, they'll fly me out to go see them. That's why I said this has changed a lot of how I do stuff. Like during their season, I'm taking trips to go work on them, and then they introduce me to some other guys, and I work on those guys too, just so that it makes it. I'm like, well, yeah, I need you to pay me, but I need, it'd be better if you just have more people, then it doesn't as much cost on you. So, and it makes it worth everybody's time. And then like, there's been years I've gone to some games like to work on a player, and they go and have their best game of their career that next day. So I'm like, I've had people always ask me, hey, when you going to go see so-and-so? I need to put him on my fantasy team so he's ready. So it's like, I'm going here. So it honestly was. So see the performance that they get. And the thing that I always tell people too is like, and I'm sure you say the same thing, but it's like when you have those, for example, professional athletes, they may not be hurting. They just know that their body's kind of worn down. And any percentage you can improve them is huge in that level. I mean, you look at the top, like your track athletes, right? What's the difference between first and second place? It's not much.
Right.
So anything you can give them, they feel like they're so much younger, their body lasts so much longer, and they can do much more things. And that's where it's like, that's where I keep doing it.
I think that's a great thing that you're saying, because I mean, as a physical therapist, you like you say, the focus is injury. But it sounds like you put together a whole performance enhancement / injury prevention, and I mean, to speed up the healing side of injuries also. Sounds like you've been able to tie it all together where you're not in the conventional mode of a physical therapy practice.
Yeah, we're anything but conventional here at this place, but yeah, so. And as you always preach, it's the full body that we look at, right? So that's what's kind of cool. I get someone in and they'll tell me where their problem is, where they're feeling some things, or where they have a deficit. And I'm like, okay, great. And then we start looking at it and say, okay, but here it's coming from here, or we got this thing going on here too. And if we don't, this isn't taken care of at this level, then it's just going to continue down the path. And once we get them going and they see the difference right away, they buy into it right away. So, and that's what's pretty awesome about it too. It's like they recognize that fact. It just because, you got so many people that do so many different things, especially at the professional level for those professional athletes. They've gone through so many different types of people that just kind of, they know when it's going to be a waste of their time, or at least when they're like, that didn't do anything for me. And they don't have time to waste.
Right.
So they need to be better now. And that's what they're finding is that if I can get better now and then have something that kind of keeps me and has a whole system that allows me to kind of progress and I can see that difference every single time, I'm coming back every time.
Yeah.
And that's what's pretty cool about it. Like, that's why I said a lot of these guys will come in off season to do it. And then during the season, I get players that throughout their week, they get little dings or bangs there. But if I've worked with them in the off season, oh, it's so much easier.
Yeah, you have a foundation. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I know you preach that too. So it's like, yeah, this is just the thing that makes it work. And so I get, and then like these high schools around, they benefit. They don't know any difference, right? So here's what's funny is I get these high school kids, or I get middle school kids start working with me, and they work throughout with me in the high school time, and then it's time for them to go play college ball, and they go to college and like, oh my god, this is such a back. They didn't do nothing for me. I'm like, yeah, I know, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So they're always like, anytime I come back, Brian, when can I see you? I'm on my way, but I got a trip here. I'm coming back home for this time. Like, can you see me at this time? Like, yep, we'll make it work. So,
And it's funny, and it's literally why I say, I mean, we, in the big picture, we need to have MAT in every corner of every city of every state, because like you said, they leave town, they go somewhere and there's no access. It's like they get lost because people become dependent on it.
Oh, I know.
Like the one thing I know, I mean, even in my own world is, I mean, I always know I'm a treatment away from feeling better. If I tweak something or I feel something, it's like, I'm just one, I mean, because of the solid foundation of treatment, I'm a treatment away from feeling better. And as you get older, that's supposed to be the opposite.
Yeah.
On that downward spiral.
That's what, so I got some people say, oh, I'm getting older. It's all because I'm getting older. Nah, I just get better. You just get better every year. I'm like, yeah. I think I just turned 50 and I'm competing in the CrossFit competitions, make it to the next level. And I'm looking at some of this stuff. I'm like watching these people. I'm like, yeah, how old are you? I'm like, you're not even close. Let's go. You got to pick up your pace. You're not even right where you need to be. But what's cool about, like you said, like having people in every corner, like, so I had some players that come to Lincoln who've been in, like some guys from Colorado, even like Brad Carlson, who I don't remember him, but he would treat some of these kids. And so he says, oh, you're going to Lincoln? You're going to Nebraska? You need to see Brian. So then they come up there in their college career, they see me. And then some of these guys are going on to the next level. So, oh, okay. So either they got where you're going, like the Colts, or someone there at the Colts right now. So there's a practitioner there. You need to look him up. Yeah. And then I got some people that are now in Louisville, and I'm like, oh, there's a practitioner there. You need to look her up. So that's what's really nice about the community that you built. And how that's kind of close in. You have this confidence in some of these people because you know what they've had to go through to get to that level, to get to certain levels. Like, all right, I know the foundation you've created and I know where you've built up to. And so in order for you to be at this level, you've had to do this, this, and this. So, okay, I have confidence in you to send people to you. So, and that's where it's like, yeah, I'm going to send that to this person because I know that they're capable of doing it.
Right. Yeah, and it's neat to see, like I said, where there was nobody before. And I mean, I've been with the Broncos now 25 years, I think 26 years now. And and so early on, I had to do a lot more explaining to people what we're doing. And I mean, as we're going through it, and now even now with the rookies that have come in for the mini camp, guys like, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so down at Kikamele down in Florida, or Bomarito's facility down in Florida, and they know about MAT, they've experienced it. And it's neat to see that they've had some experience with it, and then to know that wherever they go, like you said, Indianapolis or some of these other teams, Broncos, 49ers, it's like they have access to it. It's it's I mean, that shows how it's grown and shows the significance when people are looking for it.
Yep, I know that's pretty, and that's like even some come to me in even the off season because they have it in other places where they're at, and they're like, oh, they're looking for it, so they come back here and they like, all right, so I know that Brian is here, and so all right, we're gonna go see Brian, or now I have Kat here too at the RX level, so like, all right, we can get you going, and then Natasha is like, just like I said, she's going through your mastery course right now, and like they're killing it. So I'm like, and what's fun is like I know when I was going through it, I had nobody to practice with, I had nobody to kind of correct me. And so until I went back to Denver, and so then as I'm going through it now, like these guys, so like, all right, what are you learning right now? You're going to treat me. I'm going to treat you. Here's what it should feel like. Okay. Nope, it's not that way. So that's what's kind of, I when they come through, when I'm sending them through, I hold them to the standard that I've been held to, or that I want. And I'm like, all right, this is how I want you to do it. And this is how you're going to get the results. I said, this is what I felt when Greg would do it on me. This is how it worked. This is where you go. This is how to test you. You had to have your position here. You had to have your body here. Those are the specifics. And like, oh no, you got to be where you need to be. Otherwise it's not going to give you the results you're looking for.
Yeah. And that's the key is it's a skill. It's a skill set. And if you're off a little bit, especially at the RX level, if you're off a little bit, you won't get the results you want. You don't raise the tolerance levels to the degree you would hope for, and you leave them vulnerable. And and so it's not, I mean, sometimes I think, well, it's just second nature when I'm going through it through the day. And it's like, oh man, I mean, that's only because I have 25 years of experience.
Yeah.
But
Well, that's why I'm excited to come back in September, because it's been a few years since we've been able to come back and get a tune up on our skills. So
so
I'm excited to get back.
know what the great part is because we had the first review class in March.
Yeah.
I went through it and was preparing for it. And 2 years later, because of COVID, it's the first time we had RX level people in. I'm like, everything changed. Like literally every primary muscle in the process, there were changes that have been added to it. And I'm like, man, it's like, I mean, it's amazing what can change and progress in 2.5 years.
Yeah. And what was nice to have you when you had that video series, I went through that with you, you know, so at least I could go through that. Oh, this is this. And I got a few changes here with that. So that was nice. But and then just going back and I'm like, all right, I'm ready for some updates, or at least fine tune my skills. And now you have the STEM stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm excited to hear about that. I haven't had a chance to get that on yet. So I'm like, all right, we'll have to check that out. But
yeah, that's been working out real well. And all the different and continue like you said, the evolution and the changes. I mean, RX, now 10 years into it with the RX process, and it's like on a day-to-day basis, like RX is the highest level I've taught, and now there is the STEM and there is the exercise, and there's all these things that evolved off of. If I didn't have the RX process developed, I could have never come up with. But it's like, man, it just keeps changing. It keeps evolving, and always to try and literally put that S on the chest on the clients is to say, how can we maximize their neuromuscular performance? And RX has been, MAT on steroids, and now there's other versions that can take RX and put RX on steroids.
Yeah.
So it's been neat to see.
And well, as you've grown, I know you've kind of partnered with some other people too, and how it kind of stimulates with the brain and neurologically. And so that's actually pretty cool to kind of see that change as well, and expansion, where they get you involved that way. And I know you've kind of just that interactions you have with different practitioners too, and learning how you can implement this, or how you can change that, how this can affect that. So it's pretty cool. And that's what I think that is really neat about you as well, as far as an individual, and your ability to not be complacent, right? Because there's so many people that have been like, oh yeah, I did this works great, and then just keep doing that and never grow off of it, right? So you're constantly looking at, no, how can I make this better? How can I make this better and more efficient for this person? How can I make the process better overall? And that's where it's kind of led us, so that's why you've like you said, originally we started as a specialist, and then I don't know if you even thought about where it was going to take you, but then I was like, all right, we're going to go here, and then we're going to go here, then we're going to go. So that's pretty, it can be, like I said, frustrating, but also pretty amazing. It's like, this is constantly growing, and that's where, and me I'm a student of just a student of life, right? So I'm looking at best way I can implement and help the people that I see or serve, and make sure that I give them the best thing that they can, so they can be at the level and make their dreams come true. And I get to live through that. So like what juices me is when I take this like kid who had, for example, an ACL reconstruction, and you work on them, you do all the things you got to do, and then they get a chance the first time play on the field again, and you get to watch them, and just how their eyes light up, and how they're jumping up and down, and mom and dad are excited, and they're crying because they're really excited about them playing. That's what juices me. And then to see that change, and then to be able to, like, yes, I can implement. I was part of that, kind of a little bit of part of that to help provide you that step to kind of get forward. And that's I love that. That's the part that gets me excited every day.
So rewarding.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
You can help at all levels from an athletic performance standpoint, but then you said, like, as people age and all the aches and pains, aging, it's like, oh, because I played football for 17 years or whatever. It's like, no, it's because your muscle system can't tolerate forces. So, to know that you can have a positive impact, and sometimes changing somebody's quality of life, where not just about going and making another $1 million playing sports, but to change their quality of life on a day-to-day standpoint. It's so rewarding to be able to know you have the tools to be able to help people.
I agree. I see people from all ages and all levels of whatever it might be, not necessarily, like you said, athletes. In a sense, I treat them all like an athlete. I got, like, for example, a grandma who, she wants to go and take her grandkids to the park and be able to push them on the swing, or pick them up off the ground and lift them up. To me, that's their sport, right? So I'll treat them that way. And I'm going to, we're going to go after this, like, just to make sure that you can do all those things. And And oh my gosh, the things that they get back that they have lost for years, it's a whole new life for them.
Yeah.
And so, and that again, like I said, I know I mentioned the, kid getting the ACL reconstruction and stuff like that, but you're right. On the other level, you got just the normal everyday person who has just daily issues that I walked up the steps, I felt nothing.
Right.
That's the first time, or like actually, I had a dad who picked up his kid the other day, and they were playing, and he was telling me how he had stomach pain for his whole life, and all of a sudden the kid was like kicking with the legs or whatever in the stomach, and he's like, I don't feel that no more. Like, that's pretty awesome. So you don't even realize some of the stuff, and it's just like, there it is. Those changes are just there.
Yeah. And how much the muscle system impacts. I mean, we know that exercise is supposed to be the cure all for every disease out there, from coronary heart disease, diabetes, everything. Like if you exercise, I mean, exercise is a way to health, but if exercise is a stress and it
Right.
contributes, I mean, it can contribute to the inflammatory based issues that lead to disease if the body can't tolerate those forces. And really, that's the whole program, is to teach the body to tolerate forces. When it can tolerate forces, there's less stress and inflammation through the muscular system, and then there's less inflammation systemically throughout the body, which can help with disease. So
Absolutely.
it's almost like MAT can be looked at as a pre-exercise program.
Yeah.
Teach the body to tolerate the forces, so then you can get the benefit of exercise that I mean we sell, that the medical world sells. But
Right.
with
So,
stress, it has the negative effects.
yeah. So what was interesting, we just hired a guy who's a physical therapist for over 16 years, and he's pretty good at what he does. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, and he's pretty excited. You watch him and the things he's done, but then he steps in our clinic, and he's like, he felt like a rookie. Like, when you go from high school, you're the all-star, and you go to college and you're like a nobody at that point. He
Right.
wasn't sure if this was even the right place. He's like, oh my gosh, they're like, I thought I was here, but I'm like down here now. And this is,
Yeah, that's
so
awesome. Yeah.
then like he's seeing the impact of just what we treat somebody. So he's like, oh my gosh, the things you guys are doing have just, I got to look at this in a whole different way. I knew I was going to be on a growth spurt, but I couldn't believe that it went like this. I thought it was gonna be like this. It's like this now. I was like, oh, so he's pretty excited, and we'll get him going on some stuff. We'll get him introduced, and we'll kind of send him out that way when he's ready. But
All right.
so that's what's cool about it, and like everybody has their own little input. That's what's nice about the team we have created here too, is that you have all different skill sets, and the things that MAT does is it brings those skill sets up even higher, and it gives you a path now to follow. So like he was just asking me, well, how do I work with somebody who you seeing? I said, well, if I worked on this part of the body, then you know that it's good to go because I got it working better. So now you can actually implement exercises that will actually improve their situation and won't create more compensation. So, I mean, because you could exercise and you could do some things, but what I've always learned is that it just, like you already mentioned, it's just reinforcing a compensation pattern you've already got. So you're going to get stronger. Yeah, you get stronger, but it's not really taking care of the real issue. And then all of a sudden you get to that point where you still have that weakness and you need to rely on it. And that's when everything goes crazy.
Yeah.
And so when we address it now, we address it early on with the treatments that we're doing with MAT. Now he could say, oh, okay, I'll do that now. I'll work on that. And he's like, the changes he's seeing already, and honestly, he's not even been here 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
And he's like, oh my gosh, this is so much different than what I'm used to.
And I think that's the nice part of, because one thing, I mean, we can say people want to make it a competitive deal, like, but it's literally it's unique technique that it becomes an adjunct to physical therapy, strength and conditioning, massage. I mean, all different forms of rehab and performance. It becomes an adjunct, and you said it perfectly, because the one thing that I can always say is there's a place for it. And the one thing about this neuromuscular deficiencies, and like you said, you can do all the exercise in the world, but all that happens is the strong get stronger and the weak stay weak, and you magnify the imbalance. So you get stronger in your compensation patterns, which can help for a while. But if you can get to the root of these muscle imbalances, then it's like correct the alignment, give the body more to work with, and you can optimize performance. And that's the part that's neat, because with all modalities out there working in pro sport, the one thing that I've always realized is people still come with these neuromuscular issues that need to be addressed, regardless of all the different types of treatments and therapies that they're doing. these isolated weaknesses are still there, and they may be good at compensating for them. But now if we can, that's where we fit in, is to identify these weaknesses, get them activated so that the system can work more effectively as a whole.
Yeah. Well, like I know you've seen, because you deal with the guys at the high level a lot too, right? So they're gonna go to everybody and anybody out there all the time. And there's a lot of things that are beneficial and helpful, but sometimes those even kind of just put more stress on their system, right? So, and that's where you jump in and you're like, all right, well, great, we'll fix this up. And then if you feel you need that, then go right ahead. It's not gonna, if I get you solid, I'm basically proofing you to, you go ahead and do that. If that makes you feel good, great, go ahead. But I'm making sure that it's solid. Come see me again, and we'll be good to go.
Tolerate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
if a certain modality is it's force on the body. So if it causes inhibition, it's like we want to fix what got broken. So in a controlled environment, like people focusing on the mobility in the role of the Broncos, that's what we always did. Okay, go do that first, the chiropractic, the ART, and then we'll make sure that now with the newfound range that you're stable through that range. So it's a good blend between all practitioners, and the athlete is the one that benefits.
Yep. I mean, and I always like, for me, I always start with MAT, and then obviously we have all the other tools that I've been trained with to kind of add on to when we need to, like it kind of gives it a little bit more. And then, all right, now we'll go back and check it again. It's always something you always go back, and that's what's nice about it, is that if I do something new, I can always go back and check to see if that had any negative effect on you. And if you can tolerate, then great. I don't need to worry about it. We'll just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And so, and like I tell everybody when they come in, well, first I always tell them, says, if you really want to get better, at least give me 3 times before you say, oh, this doesn't work for me. So give me 3 visits.
Yeah.
So you give me 3 visits, I'm going to tell you, you're going to notice a huge difference in those 3.
Yeah.
And if not, great, thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, but it's very rare that I don't have somebody stick around and keep going with whatever they need to on that 3. And they ends up being more. And as you see yourself, right? You always see parents would bring their kids in first because they're the ones who, oh, I got to take care of these kids. And all of a sudden they're telling you, oh, I got this issue with my shoulder and my back. And then they come in, and then all of a sudden, oh, my other kid has this, and you're seeing the whole family. And I've seen it's actually pretty cool. Like, so since I've been practicing for as long as I have, I mean, I've got kids I've seen in high school who now have their own families, and they're bringing their kids in to see me. I guess that kind of ages me too, but it's pretty awesome though. And you get to see the whole gamut. Like now they're an adult, and you got their kids going through this stuff. And I mean, it's I love it though. I mean, that's the thing again. I mean, the relationships you create in the community, you start building, like just the people around in this community. They're like, all right, oh, I've seen Brian. You need to go see Brian. Or the coaches that come here. Oh yeah, you should see Brian. Go see. Or now it's not necessarily just Brian. Come to Achieve, right? So because I've got a team now that I've grown, and that's what's really cool about that too. Is that you're not. You can see me, or you can see these others, and you're not really going to lose a step because of the fact that, granted, I've been doing this longer, but they're getting up there, and I'm training them every week. We work together. It's like, all right, you're going to do it, because you kind of created a little model for me as well. Like, every week you'd have the guys in your practice, in your clinic, meet with you, or at least go through stuff to fine tune their skills. And we kind of do the same thing here. We do a little bit like that every time they're coming through. You're going to train with me a little bit. We're going to do a little of this work here, and anything else we need to do. Oh, your move is off here, or your hand position is not right there, or your force is not right there, or you're not palpating in the right spot. You just kind of, I said, with intention or whatever it might be, So like I said, you've been a helpful mentor as well without realizing it probably, but kind of helped me guide along the way and get these people up so that I don't have to be doing it all by myself.
Yeah, exactly. Right? You only have so much time.
I know. I got 6 kids myself, so I got to spend time with them. My wife and kids, they need me too. So,
yeah, then you have to treat them.
Yeah,
we need to get home after a busy week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's great. I mean, I mean, we could talk forever, and we got to close this up. But I love the stories you have, and it's been around forever. That it's been neat to see the growth, the progression, and at every level, and it's neat to see how you've tied it in. Again, in the physical therapy side of it. And I mean, being a physical therapist, but not going under the conventional model of physical therapy, and being able to implement this into your practice. And so maybe finishing off with any words of advice for any trainer or therapist that's looking at potentially, like, why would they want to do this? Why would they want to learn MAT?
So if you want to get somebody better, or if you want to help change their life, then to me, it's it's a no-brainer. It made a lot of sense. As soon as I felt it, I knew what it was going to do for me. And so then if you're about, improving skills, if you're about making people's lives better, then this is for you. If you're about just, hey, I'm get another notch on my belt and earn some more money. I mean, yeah, you that comes along with it when you get good, but that's honestly not why that's not drove me at all. My goal is to get somebody better. And the things that I learned is just pay attention to what you do. Like, for example, when they come to class, to pay attention to what you do, because you'll hear things and you'll see, and it doesn't always come out the way you want it to say it. I will tell you that, but it's because it's like, when I watch you do stuff, it's like, you'll do it this way and you'll say one thing. And it's like, I know you meant to say it, or when I heard it a different way. So I'm like, all right, I'm paying attention to what you do, and then, and improve my skill set that way. And any chance you can get with somebody who is at a higher level and kind of at least mentor you a little bit, that definitely helps. Because I've seen it in here. Like, every one of the practitioners I've sent through, I know that they're good at what they do, because we would take the time and continue to learn it and improve upon it. And so, yeah. So to me, it's just, if you're about learning and helping people get better, this to me is a no-brainer.
Perfect. Well, great, Brian. Thanks for talking with me today, and it's good to share these personal experience with the community. So
Absolutely.
Appreciate you taking the time. It was great talking with you. And,
no, thanks for asking me to do it. Like I said, it's been a couple of years since I've been back. I'm excited to come back and see what you got for me.
Back here. Got a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to see your new place too. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
I haven't even seen that.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah, we literally moved out right after COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it was like,
well, I know that Kat and Natasha have seen your new place, so at least I'll get a chance to come up there now. So
cool. Well, thank you very much, and thanks everybody
Greg.
for listening.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see you later, Greg.
All right. Thanks a lot.